Well, we're getting back after this Firebird today. This is my old front cover, which was misdrilled there. It was misdrilled there. It's actually misdrilled there. That hole doesn't have any threads. So that was misdrilled there. Looks like it might have been misdrilled there as well. So there's still old bolts that are cross-threaded in through those. So I ended up finding a new cover, well, new to me cover. This one's a 482-883, which comes back as a 71, which will be the same as the 527-292. It's just a different part number. I think this was specifically for GTO. Not sure what the difference is, but it looks like it'll work just fine. And I've already run a thread chaser through all my bolt holes. They all look good. And torque water pump down to it, make sure if I have to re-thread anything, I will. Get this thing cleaned up, and then I can continue putting this car back together. Yay. Still haven't found any differences in these two covers. Whatever. This guy actually needs to be the other way. So, when I took this apart, my timing marks were opposing instead of lined up, and my pointer was pointing over here somewhere, which in my head was number 6 because of where this was at, but it was actually number 1, which is actually correct for timing. So when your crank mark and your cam mark are opposed, your distributor should be pointing at cylinder number 1, or the tower on the distributor for cylinder number 1. When they are opposed, which means the crank button is at the bottom and the cam mark is at the top, it should be at number 6. So right now my cam is together in time, and I need to be at number 6 because this is actually the configuration for number 6 firing on compression stroke. If I could rotate the crankshaft one time over, then I would be for number 1. So I'm setting this up for number 6, and I'm going to reorient my wires to the factory style setup, which is number 1 being right here, and then it'll be together the way it is in the book. Because you can put this pointer anywhere, you just have to orient your plug wires to where they end up. But I like putting them together the way the book says, because then there's no question when I go look at it again in the future. So I've got my heads on, my valve trains in, I've already primed the oil pump. I have my front cover ready to go back together, and I'm not happy with the 3/4 inch bolts. There's not enough grip strength, so I'm going to go pick up some 1 1/4 bolts for my water pump. And then basically it's time to put my front cover on, valley pan, intake manifold, and valve covers. So actually I'm going to do the valve covers right now because I can. Alright, well, I am finishing up with my water pump install on my timing cover. Got my new gaskets with the ridge facing out. Got my tubes cleaned up. New gasket, plate gasket. I'm going to put a little sealer on that. I do have a PRW water pump that I set down somewhere. So I've got a performance quotient aluminum water pump. It's a PRW product. They've helped us out on quite a few of our vehicles with giving us good water pumps and other bits. This one has a cast vane, which is far superior to the stamped vane. There's some out there with aluminum vanes, which is less weight, but it's pretty negligible. I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. I ended up going to the hardware store and getting some 1 1/4 hardware because the 1 inch hardware just doesn't give me enough grip strength. And this will go all the way through, utilizing all of the threads in the timing cover, so that I can obtain better full-on torque. So some new hardware. I'm gonna grab some glue, just kind of give it a little something extra to seal with. Actually, I think I'm gonna use my liquid sealer. Lots of places for leaks. We just don't want any leaks. The backing plate goes on. Did check my clearance and it looked pretty acceptable. I'm pretty happy with that. This is the boring, tedious stuff. New hardware. I did run a thread chaser through all these bolts, so they all look like they're going to pull torque, and with the longer bolts they have a lot more strength to pull torque. I need to check and see what the torque is on these. They're probably only like 15 foot-pounds, but it's not a lot. This is the 11 bolt cover, which is arguably the better cover of the ones they made. I'm going to go ahead and lock down my small bolts for my cover, and then we will prep the front cover and put it on the front of the engine. And I want to have my front cover on the front of the engine and torque down before I install my intake. So that is what I am doing now. Guys are done. Torque those guys. The torque I found on these bolts is only 10 foot-pounds, so most likely these things get way over-tightened more often than not, but it doesn't take much. Plus, with time and corrosion, these bolts are prone to breaking off, but they're all pulling torque. I've got nice deep penetration into my cover, so should work out just fine. So now let's get this thing ready to go on the block. Same thing, I'm going to put a sealant on there after I wipe it off because I got it dirty. Gasket, paint it. Doesn't matter which way that goes on. Those important things. Everything's important. Try to do this without getting it all over me. That looks good enough. Put our lower piece on our oil pan. These are normally studs, but they were probably broken the last time this engine was taken apart. Make sure my oil pan bolts are going to fit, and then we will torque that guy down. Well, it's time to put on my fuel pump, my balancer, and all my front pulleys. It's time to then it's time to fire this thing up. So we got to make sure we're in time and ready to fire. Well, we're looking pretty good. I think I'm going to put some new fuel lines on it because those things look ancient. Whittling away at this thing. It is Tuesday. Had a bunch of alignments to do yesterday, so I didn't get a chance to work on this one. But I'm trying to focus on this one because I need to do cam braking on it, and I would like to have that stress behind me. So it's time to finish putting all the bits on this. I have a new radiator to drop in it. I've already got my condenser back in. I'm working on getting my AC back on and all my pulleys. So that's where we're at. This thing came to me with the heater core bypassed, so we're going to hook it back up that way because usually that means the heater core is no good. And somebody didn't want to probably pull the dash to change the heater core, so they bypassed it. So fuel lines are next because I have easy access to them. Actually, I have easy access to them from the bottom too. So AC compressor is next. And we're going to fast forward a little bit because this is just tedious stuff. That's acceptable. Main bolt, pinches, lock hole. That's it for that. Oh, I probably should have put my fuel line in before I did that. Goes up through there. Dummy. That's alright, I gotta replace the fuel hoses yet anyway. Let's put that guy in there. I guess I'm gonna zip that alternator back off real quick. Or at least flip it over the other way. I may have to just build one. That's horrible. Oh, I win. So it's hard as a rock. Probably been on there since 1979. Ouch. Well, that's an interesting setup. I think I'm gonna just make a new line because this one's, my luck, if I put it in there it'll end up leaking, so let's just build a new one. Alright, so my new fuel line's built, one piece all the way down, new fuel hoses. Looks like everything's installed to where I need to be. I need to set my static timing and install my radiator. So those are next. And then it's time to put some coolant in it and fire this thing up. Let's do the radiator. Oh, and hook that guy up. Probably gonna need a good ground. So a little off topic, I did some experimenting in my vapor hone and my drive elastic cabinet. And this KZ 1000 head turned out looking amazing. Pretty happy with that. I think I just saw a mouse right behind here. Is that a mouse? I have to set a trap again. Maybe it's just my imagination, but I saw a black streak go. Let's set some traps, see if I catch another Mickey Mouse. Let's see, I pulled the radiator out of this. We got a different radiator. We're from OER. I'm going to unbox that thing and replace the one that was in here. The one that was in here was replaced some time ago, but it's got some pretty good buildup in it, so I decided that fresh radiator, fresh top end, fresh cam, should probably just do them all. Stapled, probably glued. Goodness. Don't want that coming out of the box. Looks just like the old one. Looks like it'll be alright. US Radiator. Looks pretty good. Because you're doing it wrong, Rich. Seriously. Sit that way. Problem. So we'll find a hose little fix. I know we're gonna have this in stock. Having all sorts of struggles with this car now. This thing, the studs that were in it, there was only two holding the fan on, and they're actually too long for this water pump. Cut this one down. I'm going to extract this one and do the same thing. It's frustrating when you're close to the end and you have a bunch of little things that just keep setting you back. But these are the little things that, if you don't do them right, they're the things that cause the car to come back because of a failure. And these are things we didn't see, or didn't think about taking it apart. I didn't think about, I'm like, oh, I've got extra studs, no big deal. We'll fix that when the time comes. It's the time. So rate. Cut this one down. It's not a lot. Where did I go? There he is. I'm only taking like 1/8 of an inch off, but that's enough to crash into the water pump and cause us headaches. So that's what we do, we fix it. Do the old double nut trick to install it into the front of the water pump. Alright. My fan moves, my studs aren't bottoming out like they were before. All 4 of my nuts and studs are tight and my fan is in. Now I can adjust my belt tension, lock my belts down. I have my my timing mark matched at basically at 12 degrees. It's pretty far advanced, but we're going to do a static timing there. Hopefully we'll be able to fire it and get it up to operating range immediately. So that'll be next. Belts and distributor lockdown, and I'm waiting for an upper hose to show up because for whatever reason this radiator has a different sized upper hose fitting than what was in it. It's exactly what is called for this vehicle per what it's brought up as. So I don't know, annoying. But a lot of things have been speed bumps on this car. But we're sorting them out as we go and getting it back together properly, which is always the end goal. So the next thing, I'm probably going to have to pull the AC compressor off because I forgot to put the dipstick tube in. I'm not entirely sure where that goes at this point. I know it goes down there, but it's all flattened down here. Probably to go over the valve cover. So that's on our list of things to do yet. Tighten that one yet. That's all tight. Now I got to find my nut for my alternator that I dropped, and it went into the abyss. That is the frame of this car. Figure out where it went. And we will move on to our ignition timing. Well, I think I have my distributor set where it needs to be. I have to figure out a solution for this upper hose, which hopefully I will have a solution for that here tomorrow. And if I do, I will be breaking this engine in tomorrow, or at least as soon as I can put coolant in the thing. I have a couple different solutions coming for that. One is temporary, one is permanent. The permanent one will hopefully show up tomorrow quickly, but I don't know if that'll show up or not. So we're just going to keep plugging away on this. I have pretty much gotten everything back together at this point. Quite a few little hurdles, just small bumps in the road that we were able to get through and move on. Really just down to cam break-in and whatnot. I have pre-oiled this engine. I pre-oiled, drove the oil pump with a drill before I put the distributor in, making sure that I had oil through all my lifters up to all of my rockers and out my front for the cam sprocket lube. And I had all that, so everything looked good. So I guess we're going to shut this one off right here if we didn't already. Click like, subscribe, leave us a comment below. Have a great day. We'll see you in the morning. Think what else I've missed. I always miss something.